Always, this is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Today, once again, we do get to enjoy the fact that it is a slow news day. After all, we don't need the news to be popping every damn day because oftentimes when you have a busy news day, it's based on the reality that something bad is taking place. So the fact that we're having a slow news day should not really be a disappointment to any of us. But we're going to ask a couple topics, but because this stuff does come up quite often. And I'm asking this in relations to a video I saw on this app itself. And that is, what did you feel like on both the November evening of 2016 and 2020? Did you have any jitters, any butterflies in your stomach when you heard that Trump had won the election, or in 2020 when you found out that Biden had now become our commander-in-chief? Talking about election night jitters. What did you expect? Because obviously when Trump became president, there was a lot of negativity floating around about the president, rumors and things like that. People had pigeonholed him as being intolerant, being sexist, being, whatever the case may be. But did you feel like it's just another change of guard? Or did you feel really some kind of way when you found out Trump was now going to be president, talking about in 2016? And obviously the same question applies to President Biden. Slow news day, as I stated. Also, I want to ask you folks, particularly at the upper levels of the executive offices, talking about governors, senators, and certainly the president. In regards to the president, we often hear about liberal cities, crime in liberal cities being off the charts. You hear a lot of this from the right side of the aisle. I want to ask you folks, because most right-wing governors and certainly the president campaign on being able to straighten out the high crime in liberal cities. So I want to ask you, what can the president do? Let's say Trump is reelected. What can the president do? Because he's running on this to address crime in, say, Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. What could the president do? Is he making promises he can actually deliver on? Or are we talking about someone that is selling wolf tickets? Those are the topics today. As always, it's your boy Tim. This is and always will remain a MAGA-friendly program. You know what we do here. The program does not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. The fact that you might disagree with the host, as I always say, doesn't mean a damn thing. Nevertheless, we're going to go straight to the comment section. Someone does say lip service. So when the governors and presidents indeed talk about lowering crime, getting rid of Democrats because they're softer in crime, the president can't do anything is what you're saying. You're saying lip service. He knows how to clean the swamp this time. Well, Rick Aaron's, in regards to President Trump cleaning the swamp, draining the swamp, getting rid of corruption, as you put, quote unquote, this time, what the hell happened last time? Because he made the promise to do it last time. And when he left office, one of Trump's signature phrases was, promises made, promises kept. One of his promises was to drain the swamp. Was that promise kept? Looking in the comment section, GOP is the swamp, says Kenna. Yikes. It's about time you got on, says T. Got on what? Got on what? Love the hat? Not a problem at all. Inner city, most people don't know each other, so there's no relationship or familiarity. Not country folks. That is true. Fur Bailey, that is absolutely true. In the city, you barely know who your damn neighbors are. It's such a rush environment, all about yourself, almost like all of the citizens are narcissistic to some degree. Yeah, the citizens really don't know each other. You can live in an apartment building and not really know anybody else on your floor. It is that much like that. Both parties are the swamp. Congress is useless. Then what happened with the promise to drain the swamp? Nevertheless, we're going to go straight to the box. Appreciate you folks. Tap the screen. Let your thumbs not be lazy. 600 plus of us in here. Get your boy up to 5,000 likes. Helps out the algorithms. Brings in more MAGA. The one and only Snuggles. Good afternoon, Snow. Back as always. I always talk to Snuggles. What can the
Handsome.
president do? What can the
Yes,
president do to lower crime?
handsome. I got to tell you, if we can get those likes up to 5,000 because Snuggles is here, that would be much appreciated. All right, guys. All right. So here we go.
Damn right. Damn
Listen,
right.
we had COVID during the presidency. How in the hell do we get everything done? But you know what, though? While Trump was in office, as you can see, and you can look back, he was working with community leaders from all cities. He was working with some of the rappers for inner city communities to try to help them. So he was working on that, and then we got COVID. A lot of people are mad with Ice Cube. That's why he hasn't been on TV much, but he wanted to help the
Christmas.
communities. He was getting together with a bunch of people and trying to get it going. But if you look at the Black Platinum program on whitehouse.gov or just look up Platinum program, uh, Trump, you could look at everything that he was going to do for the black communities. It was wonderful. And that's what I think
I
he's going to
gotta
be
ask you
doing when
this.
he comes to office in 2024. He will be here.
But, but
Trust me.
but I have to ask you this. When you're elected president, it's term for term. Why, after 4 years of President Trump being in office, are all of these promises based on him being reelected? Well, if you
Right.
promise to drain the swamp, you promise to do it when you're elected, not, well, I
We
need
had
two
COVID.
terms to complete this.
We had COVID. And then we had someone trying to impeach him for 4 years. On the
Okay.
lie, remember the lie, the Russian
Yeah.
collusion lie, and all the news stations that made up this story on poor Donald Trump. Now y'all see, he did not collude with Russia. Period.
Yeah,
So
but
now we can work on
here,
things in
here,
2024, bring him back, and he's going to get stuff done.
Here's what I don't. Here's where you confuse me when you say it was difficult to get things done because people were trying to impeach him. Folks
Right,
often say they never gave him a chance since day one. What makes
right.
you think if he's elected again, that same stuff won't happen? If you're
Because
admitting he
they're
cannot function, if he has resistance, you think he's going to
right.
have a presidency with no resistance this
Oh,
time?
no, no, no. There will be no resistance because he came into 2016 on a big lie that he colluded with Russia. Now people are opening up their eyes looking at these lies that the FBI did about him and all these lying investigations, like when the FBI paid Twitter $2.3 billion or million dollars to hide the Hunter Biden laptop story. So now they're figuring out maybe these lies on Trump are really substantial, and maybe he can come in and actually get stuff done now. And I think he get a lot of stuff done now because nobody's believing the media on Trump's investigations now.
So what
So we
you're
can move
saying,
forward on that.
what wait a minute,
Yeah,
wait a minute. So what you're saying basically is that now that people know, based on the Durham report, they
yeah,
went after Trump unnecessarily, that you're going to have more liberals turning towards Trump and having sympathy for
absolutely.
him?
Because now they see what the swamp was doing. The swamp was doing. So they're so elite, they're so powerful. They finds out that the Democrats are the true liars, and just the politicians, not the voters. They truly lied, and they got the media in their pocket. They got DOJ in their pocket. They got all these people in their pocket with their investigations, and it flat out boomed back in their face. Now we can
But
figure
wait a
out Trump
minute.
could come here,
Okay,
get stuff
here's
done.
but here's where I'm confused. You say that now they know what the swamp was doing to President Trump. When
Absolutely,
they were doing
he
that to
ran on that.
President, that's fine. But when President Trump was allegedly being abused or mistreated by the FBI, he was in control of the FBI. So how do you get to blame it on liberals? His
Was he
own
really in control of the
FBI was
FBI?
effing him
Was
over.
he really in control of the FBI when they were
Yeah,
investigating him on all these lies? Are you
yes.
serious? And the
You're telling
DOJ
me,
and the Republican
wait a minute,
Congress couldn't
Snuggle,
get
wait.
anything?
You're telling me, let me ask you this. From 2017 to 2021, when a lot of this stuff was going on against Trump, who was in control of the FBI in your opinion?
The DOJ. Listen, the DOJ doesn't change when people vote for them, right? They stay consistent with the Democrats. Finally, the DOJ got caught with their pants down, basically, sorry to say, because they lied about the Russian collusion. Everybody's working together. They know the DOJ is in the pocket of the politicians of Democrats. And now we're finding this out. And the news media stuck behind the story of Russian collusion. This was a huge story. This isn't something you can fluff off and say, oh,
We're
well, this
not
is
fluffing it
little.
off here.
This was
We're not
huge.
fluffing it off.
A
But
lot of those
so
Democratic
let me
lives
get
are
it
they are
clear.
fluffing it off like it's nothing.
Well, that's fine. That's called partisan news. But let me ask you this. So what you're stating is that no matter who is in power, The DOJ is always in control of the liberals.
Yeah, they're always for the liberals. They're always for the liberals. Yes.
What are you basing that on?
I'm basing it on the investigations. I'm basing it on the FBI and how they investigate things. They have to do it through the DOJ. When the Republicans request things, they don't get things quickly like Santos, the Republican. They don't get things quickly for the Democrats who are under investigation. It takes years to practically get stuff out of them. I watch congressional hearings. The forms come from DOJ. They come heavily redacted. Then we got to wait for them to come get the redactions reversed. They got to go through different types of things to get that stuff unredacted. It's unbelievable the way the DOJ works on Democrats that need to be investigated. So now that things are now that things are more in the open, that Donald Trump was taken for, and the news was with them, the DOJ was with them when the FBI messed up, we're finding out that they're all corrupt.
So when
This
Trump was in
swamp.
office, who had the power to appoint a head of the DOJ?
They don't pick the head of the DOJ. The DOJ stays consistent throughout. They don't pick the head of the DOJ.
There is no one in charge of the DOJ. They don't have a leader.
Well,
They don't have a director.
the Attorney General, right? I think it's the
Right.
Attorney General.
Who appoints the Attorney General that is over the DOJ?
The President,
Right. So if the DOJ is liberal, appoint
right?
somebody because you,
Correct.
as a Republican president, appoint
Correct.
someone and tell them to fix this shit.
Right. So
Did that happen under Trump?
we get everything. We have the Republicans requesting things from the DOJ. When they request things from the DOJ stalls them. It's a stall tactic. I watch it with
No.
congressional hearings. Do you watch the congressional hearings?
Here's
They
what
have
you.
stall tactics.
This is
They're
not
working on
making
it.
sense. Here's
Right.
where it's not making sense.
Right.
If
Right.
you admit a Republican president gets the power to appoint the head of the DOJ. If the DOJ continues to be liberal, even though the head of the DOJ is someone you appointed, then you're doing something wrong. It's your organization at that point. Why
Right.
is
Right.
your organization going against your wishes? That is something you, as a president, are doing wrong. Do you not hold him accountable at all? That he appointed a Republican head of the
I hold
DOJ?
all of them accountable. We're working with the swamp here. That's what Donald Trump says. These politicians, they're all political. Donald Trump's not a politician. He came in as a businessman. He is a politician, of course, but he came in as a businessman. He said it all along. He's working with people that know how to work with each other. You get favors. You're in the government. You get favors. I'll do this for you. You get that. I'll do that for you. You get this. They got caught now today with their pants down, okay, because they fucked up the Russian collusion thing. They screwed up with that, and now the Republicans have finally got open these lies. You can't hide anymore. You can't hide these lies,
But that's still
especially really quick here, having TikTok. People are more
okay.
open here on TikTok. People are seeing things more than what the news is putting out. So that's why the news is getting frustrated, because everybody, both Democrat, Republican, can finally see the lies from the Democrats that they hid for a very long time. We wouldn't have known about Twitter without TikTok. We wouldn't know that
But
the
that
FBI
still
paid
don't
Twitter.
answer the snuggles.
I'm
That still
sorry. No,
doesn't
it's a
answer.
swamp, mister. It's a
Okay,
swamp.
I get all of that. I get the swamp talk, but it still doesn't answer the core question. You
Yeah,
are a Republican president. You appoint a Republican head of the DOG,
right,
and yet the organization stays liberal, even though
right,
you are
right,
appointing somebody that's in charge under
right,
your watch. That's an
right.
utter failure. That is a
Can I ask
failure
you?
of the Trump administration.
Can I ask you a question though? Let me ask you a question in return.
Yeah, because you
How
didn't
come
answer
the,
that one, but go
how
ahead.
come
Go ahead.
how come the FBI failed to tell us that they lied about the Russian collusion? Then wasn't that a failure on the DOJ and the people that Trump hired? So let me ask
Yes,
you that question. Why did
yes.
they do that for a very long time? Why did they hide the Russian collusion? Let me ask you the same question. Why did the news cover this up for so long on the American people, on the Democratic voters, on the Republican voters? Why did they hide this? Why did Facebook block my post about Hunter Biden's laptop? Why did
I
they
don't know
block my
about
post
that.
about Russian collusion? Because they don't want this to get out. It's scary that we were the ones being blocked. shocked. And then I'm called, see, Crimea River. I'm getting all these comments on there. It's sad
Oh,
that we can't get justice. We've been through this with Hillary Clinton, right?
I
We've been
don't know
through
what
this
else
with
to
Hillary
say.
Clinton,
Okay, all right, let me get in here. I don't know
right?
what else to say. If we give you the presidency, which
Right,
means you're in charge of all these organizations. And while
right,
you're in power, you walk off crying that these organizations, which is why that Crimea River comment is coming. We gave
right,
you the White House. We gave
right.
you the Senate. We gave
Absolutely,
you Congress. Hold on, let me
right.
finish. We gave you the White
Okay,
House. We gave you Senate. We
yeah,
gave you Congress. You
yeah,
served 4 years and you walk away saying they didn't treat me right. These are all your people. These
right.
are
You
all
gave,
your people.
yeah,
What
the people,
happened?
yeah, the people in the swamp, right? They gave us the swamp. They showed us exactly who they are. They still continue to be in there, and guess what? The swamp got caught. It
But
takes
that is
time.
your job. Your job is to drain the
And the
swamp,
job
not to
of the
serve 40. Your job
right,
is to drain the swamp, not serve 4 years. And
absolutely,
then look back and say the swamp was there the entire time. That's
absolutely.
a failure at
The
draining the
4 years,
swamp.
no, 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 no. The 4 years was the cover up. The 2 years that Biden was in office, still a cover up. The Republicans took the House. They finally got the opening, and we are here. Actually, on Biden's clock, we got the swamp. Thank you. Then I guess we should thank President Biden for finding out that Russia colluded, right? I'll thank Biden for that then.
Let me make it clear to you. This is what I'm trying to say. If
Right.
the FBI, if DOJ, ATA, ATF, or FDA, whoever you want to say,
Yeah,
CDC, if
absolutely.
any of those corruption, if any of those organizations are corrupt, I am going to blame the commander in chief that's in power while they are corrupt. Most of
I'm
the
not
Trump
blaming the commander in chief.
administration's, most of the Trump's administration complaint of when those organizations were the most corrupt
Nope.
was when
Nope.
he was in control of them,
I'm
and you're
not
not
blaming them.
holding
I'm
him
not blaming
accountable.
them because they did a good job hiding it. And you can't explain that. They did a good job hiding it. At the news, why didn't the media just say something right away? Wait a minute, wait a minute. We got Russian collusion here. Trump didn't do it. Why didn't the media say that? They're investigative journalists. Why didn't they step up to the plate and say, wait a minute,
So
Trump did not collude with Russia. They didn't do. They didn't talk about the dossier. They didn't talk about all that Carter Page stuff. They didn't talk about all that stuff. And I'm not going to seek help. You guys can talk all you want in here. Why didn't they exactly? Why didn't they? And it's really, honestly, it's really not funny because this is disappointing at all levels. But Donald Trump was
Well,
trying to get it out.
I gotta say, I
I
just have to
heavily
say this,
impeached.
fellas.
This president was being heavily impeached, heavily investigated on top of COVID. How the fuck do you get that
I'm
all
just
done? You
going to,
tell me.
I cannot stress this
You tell
enough.
me.
If we give you control of Washington and all of this is happening while
How,
you're in
how do you
control, why the hell would
control
we
when
give
you're?
you control? Wait, you're not hearing me. If I give
I
you
am hearing you.
control of Washington with the promise to drain the swamp, and all of
Right.
this shit happens while you're in office, why the hell would I put
Right.
you back in control again?
Right.
Why
Okay.
would I
Well,
do
let's
that?
say, okay, let me give you an example. You're in your car right now. You're going to drive to work, right? And your
Right.
engine, your transmission goes out. Boom. Oh, you got to wait there. You're still not at work yet. Your muffler goes out and it drops to the ground. Oh, you got to pull over. You got to tie that thing up. That's what happens. Things happen. It was heavily impeached in hearings. Heavily. The
No other
DOJ was so
president
focused. The
struggled.
DOJ was so focused on impeaching the president of the United States. All right. And we had COVID. We had a heavy COVID
No
that killed
other president, Snuggles.
millions of
No
people
other president,
around the world.
Snuggles. No other president, Obama, Bush, Reagan, no other
Okay.
president is
Okay.
complaining no other president is complaining that
Right.
all his own organizations
So,
were against him. I'm just going
so
to
we're
tell
just
you
going to
this.
make up excuses, right?
That's
We're
what the
just going to
Trump
make up
administration
excuses.
is doing.
No,
I
we're
gotta move
making up
on, but I'll give you
excuses.
the last word. I'll give you the
We're
last
making
word.
up,
Go ahead.
Handsome, I love you, man. We're making up excuses for the lack of letting the people know about this Russian collusion. It's just flat out horrible reporting. The investigative journalists on every level was trying to get Donald Trump. Everybody was after Donald Trump at that time. Donald Trump did the best he can to run this country, which he did well. And on top of two heavily impeachments, which should be expunged at a high level. Those impeachments should be expunged. The people arrested under Donald Trump should be expunged. Those records for lying to the American people, flat out.
All
I
right.
love you, Mr. And yes, we do get in our disagreements, but you are the best, handsome. I love your lives, and trust me, I'll be back again. And
And my
please
door
come to
will
me.
always be open to you, no matter how
Yeah,
much we disagree. And anybody in the
hell
comments,
yeah,
my door is always open. Good talk,
absolutely.
Sanaa.
Love you,
Good
man.
talk.
Love you. Have a good day.
Absolute, absolute. You too.
Okay.
All right, now looking in the comments, stated to the last caller, it's not about agreeing with the damn host. If you disagree with the host, who gives a damn? You're entitled to your First Amendment free speech right. So me and Snuggles always have a spirited debate, but at the end of the day, that's how it's done. The whole sole purpose of this is to show that if we can do this on this tiny ass corner of social media, they could do the same damn thing in Washington. They're just not trying to talk to each other. So understand that. Now, I see folks in the comments, there was a spat even among you folks in the comments. Some folks, he was right. Some folks, the host don't know what the hell he's talking about. I invite dissenting opinion all the way around. Nevertheless, though, I still stand by the argument that if the FBI, DOJ, or any of the other three-letter organizations are effing up, the guy in the White House is responsible for that. Otherwise, why have the guy in the White House? If the guy in if these organizations are effing up, let's say under Biden, they're doing all kinds of politicized bullshit, and we get rid of Biden and we put another guy in there. That guy's job is to fix the bullshit that Biden left behind, not serve 4 years in office and say it was all happening under my watch too. Then you didn't fix it. You did not fix it. And that is exactly what the Trump administration is stating, is that I ran on a promise to drain the swamp. After 4 years in office, the swamp still exists. Some might even argue it's even worse than it was when I started. And you need to reelect me to take another shot at draining the swamp. That's what I'm hearing. I invite you folks to tell me I'm wrong, and I appreciate you in the comments. I appreciate the participation. All right, looking in the comment section. You have patience. Hillary told us his game plan. Techstar, yeah, Hillary did claim that Trump is going to claim. In fact, Steve Bannon, October 31st, 2020, stated 5 days before the election, if Trump is losing at around 10 o'clock in the evening, he's going to go on TV and say it was stolen. He's going to go on TV and bring up Hunter Biden's laptop and things like that. There are actually audio recordings of it. You can easily research and hear it on Google or YouTube. How did Steve Bannon know 5 days ahead of time that Trump was going to claim the election was stolen? I don't know. You don't know. All right, going back to the box. We'll keep it moving. Andy, good afternoon. Welcome back to Tap the Screen. You know what we do here, folks. Get your boy up to 20,000 likes. 12,000 or 900 plus of you in here. I appreciate it. You can be anywhere you want to be on this app. The fact that you're here is always an honor. And draining the swamp. Do you think Trump is the guy to drain the swamp? Unfortunately, we got Andy on here, but Andy is not on here as well. All right, we'll keep it. All right, that's a huge oversimplification, says B. Eden. Well, if you say you're going to drain the swamp, and that's all you say, you kind of leaving it up to the constituents to decipher what that means. No different than Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Now, we know Trump meant we're going to correct the trade imbalance and use the excess funds to build a wall. But if you just simply say Mexico's going to pay for it, you really leave it up to the constituents to interpret what the hell does that mean. Are they going to write a check? You can't always put the voters in a position where they have to interpret every damn thing you say. Well, that's just a joke. That's locker room talk. That wasn't meant. That was sarcastic. How about some clarity so that that doesn't happen? I understand people should be able to read between the lines sometimes, but they shouldn't have to do it all the time. At any time you force the voters to read between the lines, you have to understand in a country with 330 million people, some people are going to read it differently. So how about some clarity? Looking in the comments, or better yet, going back to the box. Love Biden. Okay. Fair enough. I think this is sarcastic. You lost a bet, correct?
Yes,
You
sir.
lost a bet and had to put Love Biden up there?
Yes, sir. 2 more
Okay.
days. 2 more days.
All right. So
Yes,
the
sir.
question we've kind of branched off into is Trump the guy to drain the swamp? Is he really dependable in terms of getting Washington straight?
Well, basically, what we have a problem with is we feel like Biden uses the FBI and his resources to go after Trump. And I'll give you an example for the great charges that this Jean Carroll lady just did.
Hmm.
I feel like he was done horribly wrong in that situation. And
And how did Biden? What is Biden taking that?
okay, I'll get to that. And the reason why I say that is this lady went on CNN, and her exact words were, "Trump did not grape me. It was nothing sexual." It's on CNN, baby. It was nothing sexual. Some people find grape sexy and a fantasy. Then the crazy lady looks at the host and says, flirts with him and says, "And you fascinate me." Well, of course, CNN couldn't have that. They were stuttering, trying to get to commercial break as fast as they could. So then,
Did she say? Now Trump is claiming he never even met the woman, doesn't even know who she is. So when she went on CNN and said Trump did not sexually assault her, did she also say he's telling the truth and we never even met?
well, hold on. Can I just finish just this last few
Sure,
sentences?
sure. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So then, in a separate CNN video with a different reporter, they asked her, "Well, Trump's attorneys are saying that you were given money by a Democratic Party member," and when they asked her why didn't she say that in court, the lady again stutters and says, because I forgot. I completely forgot about that man." And what she is saying is that man paid her $2 million. His name is Reid Hoffman, who owns LinkedIn. He gave her $2 million to file the charges. The lady admitted it on TV. When they asked her, she says, "I completely forgot about that. I forgot about him." So
Mm.
you want us to believe your memory on something that happened 20, 30 years ago. We're supposed to believe your memory, but you can't remember you were given $2 million.
But
Okay,
I'm still trying to find out from you, based on what you heard her say on CNN. Did she say anything to the tune of Trump is correct? We have never even met before.
she didn't say anything about that.
Because Trump is saying it. Trump is saying he's never met the woman in his life. Do you believe that too?
I believe that they were probably. I seen a picture with them. She was at one of his whatever you call it. She was at one of his speeches, or they were close together. So I believe he met her. Whether he remembers it, whether he's lying about it, I don't know. But I do believe they met. And another problem.
Well, if you're holding her accountable for not remembering dates and possibly telling lies, are you also holding Trump accountable for not remembering stuff and possibly telling lies?
But the thing is, she filed charges. I mean, you don't file false charges. And let's just say he did do it. Let's just say he did do it. Do you think he could possibly get a fair trial in New York? I mean, come on, the judge that is there was a big Trump hater. Everyone knows hates Trump. Was
Well,
appointed.
listen, here's a
Was
problem
appointed.
with that.
The judge was appointed by Clinton. Do you
But
think?
here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that statement. Every judge out there has a political leaning. Everybody votes for somebody come election time. If we base judges' capabilities off of who they voted for, that would
No.
mean all Republican judges, or better yet, all Republican defendants would have to go before a Republican judge before we trust them. And then
Well,
it's
no.
now biased on the other side.
I wouldn't mind I would not mind a Democratic judge or a Democratic DA. But the DA ran on the basis his campaign was he was going to take down Trump. This judge has publicly said how much Trump is a crook. Now, if it was just a Democratic judge, I wouldn't have a problem. But
Yeah, but
I mean,
why is that so?
that would
Why
be
is
like
that
us
so
sending Biden to
unusual?
Texas right now. That would be
Right,
like
but
us sending Biden to Texas right now. Do you think he would get a fair trial in Texas with a judge appointed by Trump?
no, but you guys would support it. But here's the problem. Here's what I'm trying to ask. Why is Trump being treated so special? When O.J. Simpson, who got away with apparently murdering two people, was retried in Nevada and given this ridiculously long sentence, the judge that got him
Mm-hmm.
did the same thing. She stated, if I get elected, or better yet, she's going to go after O.J. Simpson. Nobody said anything about that. She said ahead of time that she would go after this guy, and she ended up getting him. And nobody cried out when he didn't get a fair trial, was unbiased. People just said, "Listen, a bad
Yeah,
guy got what
it's
he
probably
deserved."
because we didn't know about it because
Yeah, we did.
And TikTok and Facebook. I mean, we knew about the trial, but I
We
didn't know
knew
what you just
about
said
it.
about that, about the
We
judge.
knew about it. We knew about it. We felt O.J. Simpson was a bad guy, and if he got an unfair trial, he deserved it. That's how we viewed it, and that's how some liberals are viewing Trump.
Well, I'm talking about in this particular case. I'm not saying Trump's innocent on everything. I'm talking about in this particular case. I just wanted to give you an example. And just like the judge, she went after Trump for defamation of character. But yet she has not done anything to the lady for filing false charges. Do you not think it is suspicious that she was
What is the
given
false
$2 million?
charge?
That
What
she
is the
was
false
given
charge?
the great charge.
He was found liable by a jury of his peers for that. That's not a false charge according to them.
But why did the lady get on TV and say it didn't happen?
The jury got a chance to go through everything you're talking about. Trump's
No,
lawyers had a
the judge didn't allow that to. I'm sorry to cut you off, sir. The judge didn't allow that $2 million by Reid Hoffman. They didn't allow that in. That's why he's appealed.
okay. How do you think he'll do on the appeal?
I don't know. I mean, it should be that that the charges should be dropped. To me, it's very suspicious that the lady did not come forward with these charges when all the other women that accused Trump of doing this, she could have came forward with them and kind of had more support. She did not come forward until suspiciously this Democrat that hates Trump paid her $2 million to do so.
Okay.
Also, what about the law? What about the law that Bragg especially made for Trump? The statute of limitations were up. Everybody knows the statute of limitations were up, but Bragg created a brand new law for Trump. Okay, that's another point of CNN.
That's not for Trump.
Listen,
California. Wait, hold on. Hey, wait a minute.
okay,
You're saying a lot of stuff.
sure.
First of all, California got rid of its statute of limitations issue as well. And that ain't for Trump. That's for a lot of females that were victimized and want to come forward. Trump just happens to be somebody that's being accused, but that law is not just for Trump.
It seems convenient. And the lady says in the CNN interview that she helped Bragg do it. She helped Bragg create the law, which may not be, which you could take that two different ways. You know, you could take, I mean, she
Okay.
may have
Let
meant
me
that.
I
Yeah.
gotta move it on, but let me ask you this last question before we go, because you
Yes, sir.
mentioned Trump not getting a fair trial from that judge.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you think talking about the judge's family and his wife and things like that, do you think that could lead to any defendant getting an unfair trial when they're criticizing the judge of their case that is ongoing, criticizing the judge's wife and doing stuff like that? Do you think anybody, you or I, if we were in court with an ongoing trial, if we acted like that, do you think it could hurt our fair chances in court?
Yes, Trump's mouth gets him in trouble. I think a lot of people would support Trump a lot more if he wasn't such a smart ass.
All right. Appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome back. And
Thank you
good
for
luck on
having
that
me.
name change. Good luck on that name change.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I wanted to bring up, we'll go back to the box real quick, but what I wanted to bring up, which is what I asked the lady before, is that in terms of getting a fair trial, we all know in the courtroom, the judge is essentially God. I don't care what your status is outside a courtroom. When you're in the courtroom, you are a subordinate to the judge. Apparently, someone like Trump doesn't get that message. Trump is indeed used to getting away with a lot of shit. He's been on top of the world most of his adult life. So going into a courtroom before your case has even been adjudicated and talking about the judge's wife that has nothing to do with your court case, bringing up the political affiliation of the judge's wife while you have an ongoing case, you'd have to admit that's judicial suicide. Now, when you look at Clarence Thomas, folks are criticizing his wife. I get it. His wife also has nothing to do with the Supreme Court, or you could make that argument. But nevertheless, they're not in front of Clarence Thomas currently being judged. These are outsiders. Criticizing a judge while he is still adjudicating your case? How could anyone support that? When you talk about respecting law enforcement, comply and nothing will happen to you, being a party of law enforcement, how could anyone support openly disrespecting and criticizing a judge in an ongoing case? Does that change simply because the defendant is President Trump? Going back to the box, tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. Program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. Liberals are welcome as well, but in its entirety, the program will always remain MAGA friendly. Don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You know what we do. All right, going back to the box. Somebody said MAGA thinks they're above the law as usual. I don't get it. I don't get it. Andy, let's try. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. You'll be warned on
Hello.
May. Good afternoon. Talking about President Trump. Did he successfully drain the swamp for 2024? Is he the candidate we can depend on to drain the swamp going further?
No, look, okay, let's look at his AGs. And they're talking about the Durham report, but they forget that the Mueller report did not clear him. Mueller said so. They need to read it. I know it's a huge book of information, and he admitted he fired Comey over it. That's what got him in trouble the first time. And Jeff Sessions, even though everybody threw a fit at him, our old senator in Alabama doesn't just give up a fight for anything. Jeff Sessions recused himself because he had 2 meetings with the Russian ambassador Kislyak that he lied about.
Yeah. But what about the notion that the FBI, if you go by the Durham report, what about the notion that the FBI apparently was weaponized against President Trump? You don't see any
Well, I
possibility of
find
that
it
at all?
humorous that Trump was the president at the time that they're talking about it being weaponized, but
Yeah.
meanwhile, in an astronomical number, 2 members that had the same job in the FBI got the biggest audit you can get, and the odds of that are something like 1,000,000,000 to 1 that they would get that particular thing. So, and then Trump also weaponized the Secret Service because look at January 6th. How long did it take to get to Secret Service to admit that those text messages weren't missing?
Yeah, yeah. So you
So
see
under Trump's
weaponization on both sides.
administration, if anybody weaponized part of the government, and it was him. And if he had found out somebody betrayed him, what do you think he would have done? Let's use some common sense. He's up there for 4 years. You gonna tell me why he's got his hands and everything else? He doesn't know. Somebody's not gonna say, "Hey, they're investigating you," and he's not gonna get rid of them. Please,
That's a good point. That
Comey would
even if
be still there now.
that's a really good point. That even if the FBI was weaponized, the chances that there are some Republican voters among the FBI that would have tipped Trump off, that does make sense. There certainly would have been at least one Republican member of the FBI that would have warned them you're being investigated. The idea that the whole FBI leans left, that doesn't make any sense.
How many
Now,
attorney generals did he have?
well, we know he had Barr, and then he had someone before. I think he had what,
And
2?
Sessions, and no, there was somebody between Sessions and Barr.
Spicer, was it Spicer? Who was the other guy?
I'm
The
not
little.
sure, but let's look at Trump. Can't keep his own cabinet. How's he going to drain the swamp?
Let me ask you this in the comments, because I always see these comments. I always want to run it by the individual in the box. BSH says January 6th was a hoax, just like Russia collusion was. How do you respond to that? That somebody in 2023
Um,
believes what happened on January 6th was a complete hoax?
I want to know where they were on social media because anybody that had any sense knew what was going to happen on the 6th. I saw Ted Cruz standing with Michael Flynn on the back of a flatbed pickup 3 days before it happened, calling for the Army of the Faithful in Texas.
I didn't see that. So you're suggesting
YouTube
that?
has taken a lot of that down because they're like, nah. And the day of January 6th, my husband got up and said, "What are you doing?" I was sitting on the couch with popcorn. I said, "Waiting." He said, "On what?" I said, "You'll see." He comes down for lunch, sees what's going on the TV, and I said, "Told you." And
So
it's
you
because social
believe?
media, it was everywhere on social media. You could not, I live in Alabama, so maybe it was just, there are more of them down here. And
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
but I watched it on YouTube live stream through an Oath Keeper's helmet.
So you believe that Ted Cruz was in on this as well?
Ted Cruz, uh, Jim Jordan, yes, there's 6 of them.
I didn't hear that part.
In
So why do you
conjunction
think
with
in
Michael
2020?
Flynn and Steve Bannon. Steve
So why do
Bannon
you
in
think in?
October, before the election happened, talked about if Trump had planned to come out and say the election was rigged. That's why he was trying to get the voters to vote early and early voting that day so he would know his voters had already voted. So when it got to a certain point at night, he could say that the election was stolen. They have Steve Bannon on audio saying this.
Yeah,
Steve Bannon doesn't deny it.
that part is true. I've heard that audio, but in the comments, Goofy Dude, I want you to. Is another one to tackle because you hear about the lack of weapons and it being referred to as an insurrection. In the comments, Goofy Dude says if January 6th was a riot, where is the body count? I assure you, if it was a riot,
Um,
you would have known.
what about Kisley? I mean, what's his name? The cop that passed. Look, the majority of people in there were Republicans. So there were a few cops and they battered and bruised them. And everybody else hid until it could be broken up. And Trump sat there and watched for 3 hours. His own daughter testified against him and said, when my father texted that, Mike Pence had wronged them, he knew he was throwing gasoline on a fire. So when his
Mm.
own daughter says it, I don't care what the commenters say. I got news for him. Education is important, and this is why this country is going down the drain. Had they
Mm.
succeeded on January the 6th, our enemies and our allies would have attacked us. The U.S. dollar wouldn't be worth a penny. They're not going to let a insurrection government hold the largest arsenal in the whole world, and you know that's true.
Yeah. So, what do you personally think the goal was on January 6th? What was the aim? What were they trying
To
to
keep
do?
Trump in long enough for them to try to go through the courts and push off those fake electorates because they forget about that part. They don't want to talk about the 6 fake electorates he had set up. That's why they keep saying it wouldn't overthrow the government. It not only wasn't overthrow the government, it was a two-pronged attack.
So, you feel it wasn't officially a coup? They actually were trying to, as you
Oh
say,
yeah,
wow.
there's a tape of Cruz that just came out of leaked audio of him explaining part 2 of the coup. You got what's his name, Peter Eastman, the idiot that went on MSNBC and talked about the Green Bay sweep and literally just basically told them exactly. And the guy's going, you do know that's a coup, right? And he's going, no, it's the Green Bay sweep. Or he's going, no, man, that's.
But at the end of the day, I don't think you nor I believe that Trump will be held accountable for a coup. So,
Oh, I
with
don't.
Trump, with
But
Trump possibly on the cusp of being reelected, let's say he does get back in office. I mean, what do you think America would be if
I
another,
don't think he
another
will.
Trump president?
I think after his little tirade, Jack Smith is going to have him on the documents because they gave him every reason to say. They asked him, "Did you show the documents to anybody?" Trump basically said, "What if I did?" I mean, he kind of danced around the question. So, I mean, if Biden gave him back, Pence gave him back, everybody, went to search. Nobody had a problem. The only one wanting to hang on to him is Trump. And he's saying they belong to him. Well, they belong to the National Archive. And people
Fair
that
enough.
don't understand government is 90% of the problem. I hear them talking
I
about,
don't
oh,
disagree with that. I
Facebook
don't disagree
censored
with that.
me. I'm like, no, Facebook didn't censor you. You signed a contract with a user agreement that said you would follow these rules. You didn't. They popped you. That's capitalism.
All right, Andy. Appreciate you coming in here.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Always a pleasure. Comment. Someone stated, who is this? Costa Croc. You want MAGA, but you mostly get guests from the left. Well, I go by what's in the box, sir. I don't ban, block, or censor anyone. You hear the comments that come on here. Like I state always on all of my broadcasts, I go everything from left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. I don't censor anybody for their commentary. So when I bring you up in the box, whatever's on your mind, I allow you to state that with no hesitation or no limitation on your free speech rights. I give you plenty of time to state it. You can tell the host he don't know what the hell he's talking about. I get folks that do all the time. In fact, the program started out with the one and only Snuggles countering yours truly on every damn thing. So we do get guests from both sides of the aisle. But if you only favor one side of the aisle, then you're only going to hear the side that's against you. And I tell folks all the time, we do not run an echo chamber here. A lot of places on the social media platforms where you can go and everybody in the box is wearing a red hat or everybody is criticizing Republicans. We allow both sides to speak. So if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, follow the program, helps out the algorithms, and when you're on, give you your chance to speak without hesitation. All right, looking in the comments. Who wants a president with no self-control? Wow, shout out to Laura Brennigan from the 80s. I lose my self-control. Listen, even folks on the right that really favor the policies of President Trump really believes he is the man to lead this country going forward. Even most MAGA believe that Trump lacks self-control. I love his policies. I hate his tweets. I love his policies. I think his mouth gets him in trouble. There's no denying that President Trump lacks self-control. I think even most of MAGA would agree with that. That is a problem. That is a problem. I said yours truly strongly, even though I lean left. If Trump had that self-control, he'd be in the middle of a second term. He would absolutely have won again because on paper, he was worthy of a second term. Even when you ask liberals why they don't like Trump, it's not his policies. It's the tweets, his mouth, and potentially how he handled COVID. But his policies did not cause him to not get reelected. It was the mouth that you guys are pointing out. All right, continuing on in the box. We'll keep it moving with Angel. Good afternoon, Angel. Welcome to the program. Seriously, if January 6th was a coup and the right is gun craze, where was the machine gun fire? I don't know. The Secret Service there. You're not going to machine guns. But by the way, hang on a second, Angel. Real quick, if a lot of my folks, my beloved MAGA, you didn't listen to the January 6th committee. You thought it was a farce. You never listened to it. But they played the audio from a lot of the communications on the police radios. They were telling each other, there's a gun over here. There's somebody in the tree with a gun. There were firearms there that day. But if you only go by what you've seen on TV and you didn't listen to any of the committee hearings, then you didn't hear that. Angel, good afternoon.
What's up, buddy?
Not much at all. You're real low.
Yeah, I was talking a little low. Can you hear me now? Better?
Loud and clear, loud and clear. Is Trump the guy going forward to drain the swamp?
Listen, that was the one thing, like, when he lost the last election, what I was angry about with him. And I voted for him. You said you were going to drain the swamp. You did. You fired some people, but you didn't drain the swamp like you said you were going to drain the swamp. That was the one thing that really pissed me off, because I was like, you did a lot of other things that you said you were going to do, but the problem is our government. If people like this not being able to talk, and like I go on other people. I was on the show last night, not the show, but the dude's live last night that you were just in his box talking about like the schools, and like you brought up the 10 Commandments being brought into the schools.
Oh, the guy that's running for president, the guy at Hudson.
Yeah, I was in that live last. And I'm just like, like the yelling and the screaming. I get it. If you're passionate about something, you can get a little louder. I do it all the time, but like just the conversation. Like I said, I've gone into MAGA lives and like they rip the other party apart, or like when I go into like people who like are liberal, but like I'm talking, these people are way left. Like they one lady blocked me all because I brought up like what a woman was. Like what's considered a woman, right? Listen, and I was nice. I talked with them. They gave me some information. I accepted it. I received it. I understood it. And I was like, well, what's a woman? Well, a woman is somebody who can bear a child. You know what this
But wait
woman?
a minute. Let's just be clear. Let me explain why that happened to you. Asking the LGBT audience or an LGBT supporter what is a woman is like saying all lives matter to a Black Lives Matter crowd. I get your point about a woman should have a definition, but they know that is a counter to their cause. That's the only reason it's being asked.
Other things were brought up that I don't want to bring up because it's the same conversation. I think you had it yesterday, about abortion. And I don't want to bring that up because it's just so far fetched because they are different scenarios that where if something happened, like you brought up like a 10-year-old girl bearing a baby. No, that girl should not have to go through that at 10 years old. That's trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like when you can literally nip it in the butt before anything starts to grow. Like I get all that stuff, right? So
But so if you were unhappy with Trump failing to drain the swamp, I go taking you to my original topic. Do you think going forward in 2024, he is the guy to put back in office if you want the swamp drained? Now, I get you're not going to vote for Biden. I'm not expecting you to do that. But I'm saying if you voted for Trump, do you feel confident in 2024 he would be capable of draining the swamp after seeing what he did in 2016?
So check it, right? I watch a lot. Like I said, I watch a lot of everybody, but I watch the Dan Bongino show, and that dude is so amazing in so many different ways because, like, I hate when people say they bring up things. They're like, it's fact. I'm like, well, where's the proof? Well, go look it up. This guy gives you the proof right in your face, right? It's like literally, it's documents, it's everything right there in your face so you could see it. So with that being said, he said if Trump gets into office, right? He goes, no 100 days, 10 days. You can drain the swamp in 10 days. I will vote for Trump, right? I will vote for Trump, but I will be on that. You got 10 days because it's doable. In 10 days, you can drain that whole swamp.
Wait a minute. You're going to give a guy that you admit disappointed you. You gave him 4 years. And you admit he disappointed you because he didn't drain the swamp. You're going to reelect him, and this time you expect him to get it done in 10 years after failing, 10 days after failing after 4 years? Do you believe that's going to happen?
But listen, right? Is every relationship perfect? And I don't want to call this a relationship, but are people perfect? He came and did a lot of good things. That was the one thing I was disappointed with him in. You see what I'm saying? He did drain the swamp. He didn't drain all the swamp. He drained a little bit, like maybe an inch. Right?
Give me some examples of that inch. Let's say, for instance, I'm a really horny chick and I want to feel that inch. Give me every example from that inch. Give me some examples.
Honestly, it wasn't even an inch, man. Like he got rid of Comer. He like, you know what I'm saying? Like it really wasn't. But I liked what he was doing for our country and as far as like our economy. Like the other thing that was brought up the other day, right, was like, oh, we don't put the economy under Trump because that was Obama. Well, why did it take 8 years for Obama for the economy to change? In the 8 years he was in office, then Trump gets into office, then that happens then. How is that possible? But in 4 years, Trump has all this stuff, and then actually, in 2 years, this is all the stuff that Trump did. How does that work? Like, how can we sit there and say, listen, besides Trump, the last, 3 presidents had an 8-year term, right? It was back to back, right? Okay. So with Obama, he had 8 years. Nothing changed, right? Gas prices were still high, and not inflation, but inflation was still high because groceries were still up. Now that's how
I don't see. I think when we judge whether a president was successful or not. And by the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy up to 50,000 likes. A lot of lazy thumbs in here. Show your boy some love. Helps out the algorithms. Brings in more MAGA. In regards to if Trump was a well-accomplished president, you got to understand that depends on your political leanings, because you mentioned gas and economy and things like that. If you look at the economy, January 2009 is when Obama got elected. You look at the economy in January 2009 when when Obama put his hand on the Bible, and go forward to January 2017 when Trump put his hand on the Bible. There's no denying the economy got better under Obama. Gas prices went down under Obama. So you're not giving Obama any credit at all. I'm not saying that Trump
Gas
did not do
prices,
good things with the economy, but
gas prices,
Obama did too.
but gas prices only went down at before the election. That was the only, because listen, I drove, and gas prices only went down before the election, man. That's when gas prices went down, like it does all the time. It did drop to like, I think 167 in Florida when Obama was still in office. But like I said, only right before the election. It was still at $2.50, damn near $3.
When you look at the fact that Obama was in office for 8 years, I mean, there is something called cost of living. I mean, if Obama takes office in 2009 and he doesn't leave till 2017, you expect gas prices to stay the same for 8 straight years?
Well, Trump came into office
He
after
didn't make
that,
8 years.
and
Trump didn't make 8 years.
gas prices stayed level for a decent amount of time.
Well, Trump was only in office if you count the
4
effective
years.
years of Trump, Trump was in office only a quarter of the amount of time Obama was in, because 2 of Trump's years, the pandemic hit in
Yeah.
2019. So some of Trump's years were pandemic related and things went
Yeah.
awry, so you
Okay.
can't count them at all.
Yeah. Okay. We
So
can't count that.
yeah, so Trump wasn't in office anywhere near long enough to really even make a decent comparison to Obama.
Well, yeah, you could say that in an overall aspect, but like I said, there were certain things. Like I said, gas prices were definitely down under Trump.
Give me something, because this is coming straight out of the comments. Takesha asked, definitely a friend of the program, name a policy that Trump did that affected the economy. If we had a great economy under Trump, what was he doing to make that happen?
I look at
Angel.
the tax situation, right? My federal taxes weren't nowhere near what they were in years before. Now, granted, we could sit there and say it's only short term, right? Because that's the big argument. Well, it's only for 10 years, right? But for the rich, it's for a lifetime. You see what I'm saying? But guess what?
But under Biden, we're giving Biden credit for a horrible economy. All of Trump's tax propositions did not go away under Biden. So if the taxes made the economy great, it should still be great.
Okay, yeah, but guess what? What went up? I mean, eggs were damn near $20 a freaking a 60 count, $7 for a dozen. It was insane.
Do you believe Biden alone is responsible for the skyrocket cost of eggs? Do you believe that is Biden's fault?
I think it's the government's fault. Because I don't want to go Biden Trump, right? I don't want to do that, right? I believe that our government is just so crooked that nobody wants to leave. That's the God honest truth. Our government's so crooked. They're so used to taking our money and us not really saying, well, where's this money going to? Like, did anybody read, like, when they were giving the stimulus out, how much money went to different countries? Like, how much money went to the Space Coast in Florida, the space station in Florida? We're talking about millions upon millions and high hundreds of $1 million.
Wasn't that under Trump? Wasn't all that under Trump, though?
But it was under the House or the Senate that put that bill together, and he showed, like, look at all this. They had to revise the bill twice before they put out that stimulus.
Did he have veto power of that?
He did. He vetoed the first one.
Okay, why did he veto the second one?
Because he was like, Americans need to get paid because we were shut down.
In other words,
he had to compromise, right? So Americans could get some money. But the truth is, that's what happens, right? Look how much money we spent in other countries that had nothing to do with COVID. Like, our own people were hurting here.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's very similar to one of my earlier callers. I think that we're pointing out government issues, government corruption, but when Trump is in office, we're not also holding accountable the guy who was the head of the government. If these organizations suck while he's president, how does he not get held accountable for being in charge of all those organizations?
True,
I don't, and I'm
but
just saying because you often hear, certainly with the impeachments, now you're talking about the Durham report, how corrupted the FBI is. Most of that stuff happened while he was in control of the FBI, yet we're going after the FBI and literally giving him a pass when it was his job to make sure the FBI was in control, was in on the up and up. That doesn't make sense to me.
but in reality, no president has really done that. Let's get real here. Let's get real here. What president has actually done what they were supposed to do for the people of America, not other countries, right? Look how much money we spend on other countries that we don't spend here. You look at
Then if the president, if what you're
you look,
saying is correct, the president doesn't get this stuff under wraps, then the last thing we should do for any of those presidents that did not get it under wraps is reelect them. We
well,
should show our
he,
we should show our disgust by getting rid of presidents that are ineffective at doing that.
he
Based
wanted to
on what you're
control.
saying, Trump shouldn't be reelected.
He wanted to control the borders. I'm not saying, listen, everything he did was perfect, but he wanted to control the borders. He went out there and set out to do that. Was blocked by a lot of people, blocked by a lot of politicians. Why? Let's get real. Why? Because it's sex trafficking, it's drug trafficking, it's all that shit that comes through the border into our country or out of our country, right? Let's lock that down. Look at all the shit with Title 42 ending. Look at all the talking about thousands of people crossing our border. Do we not talk about that? Do we not talk about the freaking thousands of Chinese soldiers coming through the border? These are men. If they're refugees, I always have this conversation. Why are we not sending women and children over here as refugees? Why are we sending men, grown men?
Now, I got to say this, and I'll get your take on it. I do got to move it on, but I'll ask you this last question. What you're talking about, oftentimes people say they never gave Trump a chance since day one, and what you're talking about, he tried to build a wall and was getting so much resistance. That is the job of a president, is to unite the folks under him that he needs to get things accomplished. Like, for instance, Biden is often complaining about Christian cinema and Joe Manchin. Even though they started out as liberals, they're not following his policies. Your job as commander in chief is to unify the people you need to pass legislation. If you fail to unify them, you don't get to blame the lack of unity under you. You are responsible for not making that unity happen. So the point I'm trying to make to you is, as long as Trump, or even say Biden, continues to be divisive, all of the things that you and other MAGA are complaining about, they never give him a chance since day one, they block his policies. Why would you believe that if he is reelected, that won't happen again? Does he show you any idea, any inkling of evidence that he is
Okay,
trying
so
to unify the Senate and House that is going to be under him? What would make you think this won't happen again?
you know what? You're right, because I have in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is he full of shit? Like in the back, like you want the truth? Listen, I'll give you the truth right now. The truth and reality is, I like them as a businessman. Regardless, listen, Denzel Washington said it right. Failure is a part of success. Always has been, always will be. If you don't fail, you can't learn from your mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So when people talk about the certain things he did that he failed, it's a part of business. You don't think that freaking Elon Musk failed? Do you not think that freaking Bill Gates failed? Do you not think that any other rich person has failed in anything? It happens. You know what I'm saying? It happens. But in the back of my mind, I am thinking like, so, listen, that's why I said if 10 days, if he can't drain the swamp in 10 days, like, bro, you gotta go.
It's too late, though.
It's never,
Listen, too late. If he get in office and you give him 10 days and he failed, now you got to deal with him for 4 more years. He's already in at that point.
4 more years, but what do I deal with 4 more years of Biden?
I can't argue with you on that. Like I said, I don't expect you to
like,
vote for Biden. I get it.
But so who are we really? We're voting for who they put in there. You know what I'm saying? Like DeSantis, I think listen, I live in Florida. I like some of his shit, but I see stuff that I'm like, yo, how is this? How are we allowing this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are we allowing this? And DeSantis, I think,
What is DeSantis doing as a Trump supporter? What is DeSantis doing that you don't like?
Listen, there was a I want to say it was in Orlando, Central Florida, maybe a little bit south, where they held a bunch of kids from their parents because the parents weren't willing to have their kids either go into that transition or begin the transition. It was a big thing all over the news, and that happened in Florida, and that pissed me off. That pissed me off.
Wow. All
You
right,
know what I'm
Angel.
saying?
I know what you're talking about. I'll talk about it on the other
So
side of the
but like
conversation.
DeSantis, how do you take these parents because they don't want them to do it? Like you say you're against that, but you're allowing that shit to happen right under your nose. That's what I'm saying. So I think all our government's full of shit. Like we need to literally gut the whole damn thing, you know. But that's gonna be hard. And just listen. When shit hits the
Wrap it
fan,
up.
I just hope you're ready. Like, you know, when shit hits the fan, I hope you have enough food. I hope you have enough to protect yourself. I hope you have things that you can survive off of, because when shit hits the fan, it's gonna hit and it's gonna be bad.
All right. All right. Hopefully it don't get that bad, but Angel, come on
Hopefully it
back
don't.
anytime. Come on
All right.
back anytime. All right. Get in the comments. Somebody says doomsday, LOL. Well, he's not the only one that speaks that way. I do see it as Armageddon politics sometimes. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but hell, I'm just a regular constituent just like you guys are. And the reason I say that, listen, I've lived half a century now, 50-year-old individual. I've seen folks suggest that Bush was going to start World War III. I've seen folks suggest that if Obama was elected, he was going to turn us into socialist Greece. He was going to raise taxes to 70% and take away everybody's guns. Obviously, under the Obama presidency, none of that happened. Every president, there is folks who have what I refer to as Armageddon politics. In other words, if this person is elected, the whole damn world is going to end. There might be a time when somebody is right about it. I don't know. The last gentleman may be correct about it. I don't necessarily buy into it. And I'll tell you why. Under the Biden administration, I get no shortage of my beloved MAGA that make it sound like currently we're going through a depression. It's 1920 all over again. Nevertheless, we just saw what happened on Thanksgiving. Everybody had turkeys. On Christmas, plenty of folks got gifts. Super Bowl, they were still buying flat screen TVs to watch the game. And on Memorial Day, everybody's going to travel just like normal. Are we economically where we want to be? No, of course not. But people aren't starving to death. I don't see people on the porch finishing off the last of their dogs so they don't starve to death. It's not 1920. It's not socialist Venezuela. Half of Biden's term is over with. We don't look like freaking Venezuela, not even close. And half of his term is over with. So I'm not a big fan of Armageddon politics. All right, but we're going to continue it on. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000 likes, 900 plus of us in there. I always like to get 100,000. There's often a hell of a lot of lazy thumbs here. I understand the type of program we deliver here is not necessarily like anything you see on the app. We deal with people from both sides, and we try to do it respectfully. We don't have any moderators here. So no one comments get blocked. Of course, if you get freaking ridiculous, we may have to come up with something, but you guys tend to keep it civil. I do appreciate that. Nevertheless, let's keep it going. And if you like civilized, dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored, follow the program. Helps out the algorithms. All right, let's keep it going. We'll go right to Takesha Blue. Good afternoon, and welcome to the program. Takesha,
Hey,
talking
friend.
about being the guy to drain the swamp.
Child, please. I am so confused after that last caller. I'm confused as a bull saying moo and a dog saying meow.
What confused you like that?
First of all, I'm going to tell you, that's why people, honestly, I'm going to be honest, why people kind of shy away from MAGA supporters, because he said all this in one sentence. Obama didn't do nothing. The gas prices were high and everything. And then you brought up, Trump. Okay, because this was all Obama. And then when you tried to say some stuff about Trump, then it was the government. Then it went from the government to Biden. Then it went back, well, Trump such and so and so. Well, that was the government. And our government is so crooked and so corrupt. So it's the government doing Trump's turn, but it's everybody else that's a Democrat doing their turn. I don't
Well,
like that.
fact is,
They
when
don't give
you are
Obama
president,
credit for what he actually did because
yeah, and
they're
I always
listening,
say,
but they're
fact
not
is,
taking the time to learn.
yeah, I always say fact is when you are president, whether you consider yourself to be a traditional politician or not, you are the government. And that's the problem that I often have with some of my MAGA folks is that when Trump was president, they're somehow trying to separate him from the government.
You can't do
You're in
that.
control of everything. I
You
mean, if the
can't do
government is
that.
screwed up, you're the one that's in control of it.
Why did he sign the bill? Well, he made him revise it. Well, why did he sign it the second time? Well, when you got people, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's all I ask. I hold about if somebody presents a decent point, I'm willing to concede where Biden is messing up in areas when people bring it up. But for
Correct.
some reason, yeah, when it comes to Trump, he gets
Nobody
credit
sees.
for all the
They don't
good
see
that happened during
nothing
his
he did
administration, but
wrong.
not the bad.
Right. But
Yeah.
back to the drain the swamp. The only way he drained the swamp was when he put the straw in there and sucked the swamp up in his stomach. Because he is part of the swamp now. He ain't drained now swamp. He put a double depend on and got in the swamp with the folks, okay?
What about the possibility though that he could do it in 2024? As my last caller said, I'll give him 10 days. He can do it in the second term.
I wouldn't give him 30 seconds. Because all he gonna do is get in there and do the same crap he did. Trump don't know nothing about running no country, baby. He don't. He don't really even listen. If you listen to him talk, he don't even know the job that he was in. He don't even know the role he was in. When that man said that he shook the hand and talked to the president of Puerto Rico, I was through with him then. Because, sir, you are the president of Puerto Rico. So what you
All
do?
right,
Get
he
in the
did
mirror,
say
shake
that.
your
He
own
did say
hand.
that.
Did you get in the mirror, shake your own hand, and say, "Hey, Trump, how are you?" He
He
doesn't
did
know
say
the
that.
job.
All right, but what about Biden? Biden has a lot of gaffes himself. You don't see, I mean, because folks will suggest that Biden is in mental decline, and he certainly is not even capable of running the country as of 2024. Do you not see any issues with Biden?
I don't agree with everything Biden did. I wish we had somebody else to run. Don't get me wrong. But for a man that's not capable and that's losing memory loss, they sure give him a lot of credit for a lot of stuff. He stole the election. How? How did he figure out how to do that? If he's mentally incapacitated.
A
How?
good question.
How's he doing a lot of stuff they say he doing that the man can't even think like they said? He was in the basement. Okay. I was in the basement too because I didn't want COVID. I still ended up getting it. But hey, the man was trying to be safe. Nobody had to go out there and run around the world and tell folks how great you is at a rally for you to be for them. If they're going to vote for you, they're going to vote for you regardless to whether you out there or whether you inside. Because they've
Yeah.
already made up their mind.
All right. Let me ask you this as an
Ask
African
me,
American.
sir.
Let me ask you this as an African American woman, because I hear it a lot on this program. Do you see when you compare those two gentlemen side by side, Biden and Trump, do you see the level of intolerance in Biden, racism or whatever you want to call it, greater than Trump? Because folks point out, appreciate that, Andy. Thank you. A lot of folks talk about, well, Biden, vote for me, you ain't black, the crime bill, and hung out with Senator Byrd, things like that. Folks
Let me let me
suggested, but
let me
go
let
ahead.
me let me say this. The crime bill was not Biden's bill. He co-sponsored it, but he did not write it. That's number one. Number two, the NAACP and most black people supported that bill. They didn't know that when it got to the states, they were going to reconstruct it and make it mean what they wanted it to mean. When they wrote it, it wasn't supposed to go like the states made it go. That's number one. Crime was so bad back then that black people just wanted some help. People were getting killed, drugs were taking over, and just about all of Congress voted for that bill. Democratic and Republican, I think it was
Yeah.
like 46 of them voted for that particular bill. You can't help how a state interprets a bill. That wasn't Biden's fault. And when he said, if you ain't black if you don't vote for me, he was
Yeah.
just simply saying that the Republicans don't care nothing about black people. If you want to be helped, you come to the Democratic side. That's all that man was saying. But
Well,
people
with
try to
Trump, in defense of Trump, he got flack for saying, vote for me. What the hell do you have to lose? When he talked to African Americans, your cities are dilapidated. What the hell do you have to lose? He talked about, I love the blacks and things like that. And we hammered him for that. Did we treat him unfairly?
who is we hammered him?
African Americans.
Don't you can't put all us under the same umbrella because I didn't say that.
Okay. My
I
apologies.
didn't
My
say
apologies.
that. You
But
got
he
some
did.
you
But you
got
know
some
what I mean.
African American.
Amongst the African American community, when Trump said that, when he met with Steve Harvey, they went after Steve Harvey. When he met with Ice Cube, they went after Ice Cube. A lot of us went after our own people for even being willing to talk to Trump. Do you see any problem with that?
Yeah. First of all, did you not see he had dinner with Nick Fuentes?
Wait, say
With
that
Craig?
again?
Did you not see when he had dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, and
Right.
he acted like he didn't even know who the man was? See,
Yeah,
foolishness. You
yeah,
hanging out with white supremacists, but you don't want people to think you're racist. I don't hang with people that don't have the same values and views that I have. What I look like going to hang with a KKK, knowing they don't like me and they're against my race? Come on, you gotta back it. I can forgive you for the back in the day stuff. But when you still doing the same thing present time, that's when I still think you're a racist.
yeah.
I
And
don't
he's
care if he
and
gave money. I don't
I
care if
do
he
agree
gave
with
money
you
to.
on the Nick Fuentes thing. He claimed he didn't know him, and I do disagree that
Come on
you're
now,
a
let's
former
be for real.
president.
I
Yeah,
don't
you're a
care if
former
he
president. The Secret Service is letting people in your house, and you gonna tell me you don't know who the hell they are? That doesn't
right,
make any sense.
right. I
Yeah.
don't care if he gave money to the set of The Color Purple times two. That don't mean you. That don't mean you ain't racist.
All right, I gotta go, Takesha. Appreciate you coming in.
All right, brother.
Always a pleasure. All right, looking in the box. What Handsome, don't forget about his racial retweets. Yeah, what does that say? Is Lion Cornerstone. If you go to YouTube, the handsome liberal, and type in Trump never said anything racist, I have a piece on that because I get a lot of folks. Trump ain't never said nothing racist at all. It's always been Biden. No, Trump has said some suspicious shit, and I did a video on it. And it's not based on articles. It's not based on CNN, MSNBC, or somebody. It's him on TV saying it. It's actually a video footage of him having a debate with Bill O'Reilly, and you see it coming out of his mouth. So I know not to present suspicious sources when criticizing number 45. All right, looking in the comments though. By the way, tap the screen, get your boy up to 75,000. 900 plus of us in here. 2 million for freedom. I don't get that one, William Smith. Who has not said some suspicious shit? JS, that is true. That is 100% true. Just about everybody has said some racially suspicious shit we can probably go find if we dig up. But a lot of MAGA say that Trump hasn't said anything. They deny that he said anything. Your comment is more factual. That most people have said some things we can criticize. Certainly any white guy that is Trump's age, Biden's age, because of how they were brought up. And I use myself as a example. You don't find many guys my age that has not said some homophobic shit because that's how we were brought up. You try to correct it, which is what my last guest stated. You shouldn't still be doing this shit. But when we were brought up, homophobic slurs were quite common. Just like when Biden and Trump were brought up, racial slurs were quite common. But you should be trying to make amends and not do it now. Trump, during his presidency, tweets out a video of a guy yelling white power, for instance. No apologies, no explanation for why it even came out. And we get some type of response that, well, I didn't hear the guy saying that. It's the first words on the video, and the guy is yelling it out. And even after being criticized about it and saying, well, I didn't hear it, he still didn't apologize for it. What are you left to believe? I mean, at some point, you have to take a person at what they're doing. You can't just make up answers for the guy. I mean, if I step on your foot and you go, ouch, that hurt, and I don't apologize and I just get up and walk away, you got to assume I intended to do it. He didn't apologize for it. Is it wrong to actually question that? Is that wrong to do that? We can deflect to Biden. We can bring up the crime bill and all of that stuff, but that doesn't take away from what happened. Is it wrong to ask that? Not worried about racism. Just put money in my pocket, says JS. Well, that's you. Every voter has their own personal concerns. If the economy is your number one concern, nobody can fault you for that. But maybe somebody else has a problem with something else. That was one of the biggest issues, which probably led to the Fuck Your Feelings campaign for the Trump administration, is that folks enjoyed his policies, liked the way the country was going, but they were constantly forced to try to convince other constituents and voters to ignore all of this other shit that Trump was doing, which you started hearing things like fuck your feelings, don't vote based on emotion, pay attention to what he does, not what he says. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to ignore what's coming out of the mouth of your president because it's so awful. Why not ask the president to curb his language? Listen, in regards to making America great, insults are not necessary. You're going to tell me you cannot make this country great unless you're tweeting at 3 a.m.? That's the only way it can happen? Really? Going back to the box. Faceless American. Good afternoon to the program.
How's
About
it going,
Trump
man?
draining the swamp.
Hey,
Good afternoon. What's up?
can you give? I'm gonna jump out of the box, then come back in. I'm right in the middle of something.
All right.
So if you could do
Come
that,
on
that'd
back,
be
please.
awesome. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, we'll keep it moving right away then. Dakota, good afternoon. Welcome. Program. I think Dakota Independent, if it lets you in, not going to vote for a narcissist, homophobic man for a couple dollars more in my pocket. That's a hell of a comeback. And I've said that before we go to Dakota real quick. I've said that before that the economy is incredibly important. There's a phrase called, it's the economy, stupid. That's what a lot of people vote for, but not everyone. And I will say in regards to that comment, if you can reduce the price of fuel, reduce the price of goods and services, that may not convince a woman that's facing a murder charge for having an abortion to vote for you. That law that is banning abortion and potentially, like in North Dakota, where they're trying to make it a woman can be executed for having an abortion, I don't care how much you lower gas. Women are probably not going to support it from some aspects. Dakota, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm an independent. My family is conservative, military. I'm from Cambridge, Massachusetts, so I'm liberal. If just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm from, and this is not a new thing. I can't even believe this is still kind of going on, or whether or not Trump is a racist, or he was a racist before he even took that escalator down the stairs.
What makes you say that? 'Cause
Historically,
we're gonna get that from
okay.
audience, man. What has Trump done to make you believe he's intolerant?
Well, I lived in New York during the 90s. I'm Generation X, so I was at a State University, New York, um, during the 90s. And that's when Giuliani was in. That's when Trump was taking out whole page articles on the Central Park Five and pushing for the death penalty when those young men, those boys, were innocent. Um, but I mean, moving past that, like I am like left of center and I get along with my family, but I just try to tread lightly, and if I get upset I have to leave, kind of thing. But what's been going on recently, I cannot I can't compromise because
Well, let me
women,
ask you
yeah,
this as a rebuttal, because I always see interesting comments. Jason in the comments stated he was so racist that Betty at Oprah, he was so racist that Oprah loved him. And that is no doubt that he had plenty of pictures with Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, as he mentioned, Oprah, a lot of
yeah,
African American rappers. If he was racist like that, why is
yeah,
it so many African Americans are on, even on rap music talking about Trump?
no,
Why
I
is
get
that?
it. You know what? I think back then maybe they didn't really do their research. She was a celebrity figure, and if you really look at who Trump has associated himself when it comes to race, they're celebrities. Do you think
Yeah.
he's worried about the average person on the street who's struggling?
Well,
whether
but
they're
we know
white or
we
black.
view, but we currently view Kanye as promoting white extremist rhetoric. You're not going to see Oprah with Kanye West. You're just not going to see it. Why did Trump get different treatment? Is what I'm saying.
Well, that was back in many years ago. If you're
True.
still referring to Oprah, and we didn't have the internet, we didn't have access.
Yeah,
I lived in New York. I
that's a good
saw
point.
what was going on. Okay. And so I sort of pulled back a little bit because of my family, and I don't want to always be at odds with them. But there are certain things where I will not move the goalposts. I will not move the way that I feel. And I will stand up to anyone about that. And that's when it comes to like the right for a woman to choose what her reproductive future is. That's when he immediately came into office and did a Muslim ban. That affected me personally as a human being. Being in Cambridge, Massachusetts, we had we had fellows like physicians that were coming in from Pakistan and stuff that were supposed to start new jobs. And guess what? They couldn't get into the Boston airport, into Logan Airport, because of his ridiculous overnight Muslim ban. I mean, there's a long history of him. I mean, if you look at like C-SPAN and stuff, a long time ago when he still had his blonde hair, um, talking about his casinos and saying, "Well, he didn't look Indian to me," talking
I've
about
seen that. I have seen that. Yeah, because the guy let him have it. Like, it's thank God we don't judge people based on how they look. Yeah, I do.
that's
I
right,
have seen that video. Yeah.
that's right. And so I don't think he's in it for anyone but himself. Period. And I
Mm.
think that I feel bad. I feel I have a string. I have a string in my heart for the people that identify with him because they're feeling passed over by the government. They work hard. They just want to get a piece of the pie. Like I get it. I totally get it. But
Do you
it
see?
can't it
Do
can't
you
be all or
see?
nothing. It can't be all or nothing with Trump.
Yeah, but
It can't.
do you see racism among the supporters? Is it just the commander in chief? But do you look at MAGA and suggest there's racism amongst the movement?
100%. Yeah. Not all, but yes.
How so?
Well, for one thing, my family isn't racist. My family doesn't use racial slurs. I'm first generation American. So that means that my family moved from Italy and I was born here in the United States. Um, but I'm very observant of what goes on around me. And I can see that there's a difference in the vernacular or the use of how people speak um, about other people in general.
Examples.
Um,
Give me some examples. Elaborate.
Using words that I learned a long time ago weren't right, like against any group. I'm not just talking about racial slurs. I'm talking about slurs against people who have a different sexual preference. I'm talking about people who are immigrating to the United States and just want a job. I've heard every slur you can think of. And put it to you this way, a lot of people sound like Archie Bunker to me.
Damn. Damn. Now let me ask you this straight out of the comment section. This is an interesting name. They lied to you. Now the person says all Trump supporters are not racist, but
That's true.
every racist is a Trump supporter. How do you view that comment? All racists are not Trump supporters, but all racists are not can't pronounce it. All Trump supporters are not racist, but every racist is a Trump supporter.
No, I don't agree with that because I've seen people who need to hold their nose to vote for Trump just because of what they've got going on in their life. But that's where my line doesn't move. They're willing to like put a blind eye to that so that they're not racist, but because financially it would be better for them to have Trump in office, they will hold their nose and they will vote for him. So no, I don't think that all Trump supporters are racist.
Right. What about folks who believe that the current climate in America is unfavorable to white males? And I'm going to tell you from this standpoint, where you can speak
Mhm.
negatively of Christianity. You certainly can say white men can't jump, but you can't say blacks like watermelon, for instance. Where you can attack Christians and white
Yeah.
males, and there's a double standard. Do you see any validity to that?
I do. I do. And it's sad to me because I'm looking at people that are looking for someone to look up to, and a lot of them have found Andrew Tate. And I'm worried about these young kids that are coming up because they're so isolated. I mean, you're my age, right? You're Gen X. You born in the 70s?
Yes.
Okay. So the internet has changed everything. Young men are isolated. They don't know how to go up and even approach a woman, talk to her, whatever. They're feeling isolated. They're getting these ideas from people that they see as successful, the women, the cars, the money, the this, the that. And that's not a way to go either. And so I feel bad for these young guys coming up because who are they looking up to? You know, who's the ones, who are the people that can lead them in a, like, you don't have to call a man a beta just because he's thoughtful or respectful. Like, that's a whole other conversation. But no, so I do understand that a lot of white men are feeling frustrated and left out and feeling a lot of the blame because of
There is a lot of that.
colonization.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. I get it on the program all the time. But
Well,
Dakota,
there's, yeah.
go ahead. I give you the last word.
No, it's just like it's the whole idea of colonization, and it goes back to white men, and that's not just for. I'm not talking about the color of the skin. I'm talking about for women as well. Um,
Well,
and
colonization, at least on the North American continent, is almost strictly a white male thing.
I know, I know. That's what I'm saying, but it's not. So they're bearing the young men today are bearing the brunt of what happened a long time ago. I don't want to get into a race discussion, but like they'll deny inherent racism when it's definitely there. Um, it's so like it's so surgical right now. Like you would really need to pick apart and have a real conversation with these people because we have more in common with these people who are feeling that they didn't get the chance, that they don't have white privilege, that they've had it bad. We have more in common with them, meaning like liberal people, than we don't. It's really a lot of economics. It's the top 1% keeping the rest of us down and forcing us
You're,
to come and
yeah,
go
you're not.
against each other.
Yeah, you're not the only one to point that out. That we have more in common than we do dividing us. But
We
Dakota,
definitely do. I love my family, even when they piss me off. My dad has cancer right now. I had to go and stay at his house post-op to take care of him for 48 hours. And I finally reached my point where I was like, either Tucker Carlson goes or I go, because they're elderly and they have like Fox News like just playing 24/7 like white noise. And I was like, I listen, I've tried to compromise.
I can't tell you how many people I've gotten into arguments with because I do watch a lot of right wing media as well. But I'll talk about it on the other side. Appreciate you coming in, though.
Thank you finally for having me up. I've been following you for a long time.
Wow.
I started getting on TikTok in August last year. So um but I've consistently like followed you. So thanks for having me up. I'm just look out for the independents because we're on the middle. We've got family that's in the military.
Well, but do you consider yourself an independent?
Yeah, I'm registered as one in Massachusetts.
Okay. All right.
And
Fair enough.
I can vote in the primaries because Massachusetts lets you vote in the primary if you're independent. So I'm trying to look at both sides, but there are things that are veering me off. I'm like, see you later when it comes to what women's reproductive health and some other,
So you're
DeSantis.
an independent, but you're turned off for Trump because you believe he's went too far to the right.
He's too far. And I don't
Yeah.
even think it's real. I think like the evangelical thing, he's not a Christian. Look at
Good
this
point.
man's history. He's going to go to what he needs to get in power because that's what he wants, power and money. And he's
All right.
victimizing a lot of people. But
All right. Anytime you come on back, always open to you. All right. In the comments, separation of church and state. Yeah, I got into a debate last night with someone on the right that was against, LGBT and CRT in schools, but was okay with the commandments, the 10 Commandments. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas proposing legislation that all public schools in the entire state of Texas has to display the 10 Commandments, and I believe the phrase was in a prominent, highly visible location. And I've gotten into a spat with several folks on the right that do not want sexuality, LGBT issues, or even CRT taught in schools, but they are okay with the 10 Commandments. And it was an interesting conversation. All right, look at it in the comments. If Trump gets back in, he will rob this country blind. He didn't take a salary. Let me know how that works. All right, you don't have to be a lifelong Christian to be a Christian. He could have converted last night, Shay. Listen, I agree with you that a person can find the Lord at any given time throughout their lifespan. But the notion that Trump just got saved last night is freaking hilarious. Okay, it is hilarious. All right, so limit the lessons of slavery, but keep the 10 Commandments prominently displayed. Yeah, that's kind of what's happening. I just, I watch a lot of YouTube, there's just so much education out there that was not taught to us in school. So I always invite folks to, constantly educate yourself. As they say, do your homework, do your own research. But I watch a lot of shit that comes down the pipe, and being a child of the 70s and 80s, now, in my family, because you hear this, 200 years ago that stuff ended, get over it. I'm literally the first person in my family tree to have been born with civil rights from birth. Me and my brothers, we are literally, my mom born in 1948, so she was born before the Civil Rights Act, born in Memphis, Tennessee. So clearly an African-American woman in Memphis, Tennessee was not treated as equal. So I always bring that up because when it ended 200 years ago, why you guys still no, it ended with me. It ended with me. I'm the first person in my family born after we got civil rights. So, but one of the things I talk about is, like, if you look up breeding farms, this is something you never heard of in school. Breeding farms during slavery. Oh my God. It is straight out of the Third Reich playbook. I'm talking gynecological, I can't even pronounce the word. You know a gynecologist. Gynecological, whatever. Procedures done without anesthesia. Experimentations on slaves. You don't hear any of this shit. Forcing slaves to mate with other family members to produce new slaves. It is literally straight out of the Third Reich. And it is something you do not hear discussed in schools. Now, obviously, we know that Hitler lost in World War II, so most of the dirty laundry of the Third Reich was released. And we know some of the horrible things they were doing, like sewing people together and stuff like that, making lampshades out of skin. We know that they were doing that. Because when you lose, people tell your atrocities, particularly the victims, people who got out of Auschwitz, went out and told people what were happening. The difference in the United States is the people committing the atrocities did not lose. Even though the Confederate South lost, for the most part, they were allowed to maintain power. So what does Nazi sympathizers do? They deny the Holocaust. It never happened. Well, over here, it's the same thing. Anytime somebody committing atrocities wins a battle, the first thing they do is hide the atrocities. I don't know what you're talking about. It never happened. If Hitler had won, the Holocaust would have been a rumor. You'd have heard a few Jews talking about it, but in reality, they would have been saying this never happened. That's what happened here, is that the atrocities, the victors, wiped it out of history. And so it is a lot of history out there. And I'm not just talking from a racial aspect of slavery, but do your homework. There's a lot of history out there that was totally wiped out that we don't know about. Things that was done back in this country, even like after World War II, USGIs going around Germany raping women and things like that. They don't tell you that stuff. There's a lot of American history out there that you have not been taught. We're a great country, but there's a lot of imperfections that have literally been hidden from you. Anyhow, going back to the box, start out with the comment line. There's a straight line connecting the Confederacy and MAGA. Not because the Confederacy was Democrats. That line has been bent a little bit. I don't know if it's straight. If you did your homework, you would not have that hat. Okay, all right. I'm not even going to comment on that. I'll just say okay. Because the whole purpose of the hat is to let MAGA know I don't believe that Democrats, Republicans, or even conservatives, particularly not Democrats, but conservatives, Republicans, and particularly MAGA, I don't believe they get a fair shake in the media. Difference of opinion, I get it. A lot of folks don't like MAGA, do not like what Republicans have to say, but we're a country where the Bill of Rights exists, the first 10 amendments. You have the right to free speech. Why should MAGA be denied their right to free speech just because you disagree with them? That's not right. That's not constitutional. And that's not patriotic or American. The purpose of the hat is to let MAGA know in this particular program, they're always free to state their point. The fact that I might disagree with somebody doesn't mean a damn thing. Your First Amendment free speech rights are just as important as mine. I don't talk down to my guests. I let folks speak. That is the purpose of the hat. You'll always see it. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. I say that on every single broadcast. In the comment, you say spreading lies, for instance, somebody stated. You think there are not Democratic politicians that spread lies? You think there's not Republican politicians, independent? Everybody spreads lies. There's nobody that doesn't spread lies. I didn't have sex with that woman. Who the hell said that? You want your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Who the hell said that? Read my lips, no new taxes. Who the hell said that? So they all lie. You're not going to escape lies by picking one side or the other. They all lie. I just gave you quotes that you're probably familiar with from both sides of the aisle throughout the recent history of being in president. All right, going back to the box. We'll keep it moving. Jim Bow, I can't even pronounce the rest of that, but let's make it happen. I don't spread politicians lie. Exactly, Dakota. Exactly. Who did it? Okay, twin. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, welcome back.
So
Trump draining the swamp. Is he the man to do the job?
I don't know. I don't think he's got a chance. I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself MAGA. I'm on the right more so. But
2020. Who did you vote for?
Trump.
2016.
I did not vote.
Hillary versus Trump.
I did not vote that year.
Okay. Hillary versus Trump, and you sat out that? You didn't vote that year?
I did not.
Wow. Okay. All right. But you did see Trump after his first 4 years worthy of reelecting in 2020.
I did. I think the economy was really good. Policies were good. I think so. I guess the one thing that I wanted to address with you is
Sure.
You talk about, it was Trump's job to get rid of the people in the FBI, CIA, if they were going against him, right? You said it. They were able to go against him because he allowed it. However, one of the biggest things is if he did say he canned everybody, right? Because they were investigating him and they were against him. What would the left say about that? They already say he's this massive dictator, right? And they would say he's just power pulling. He's going to get rid of. And you yourself also said that no president in history fired as many people as he did.
True.
So he was firing the people that weren't living up to their points, right?
Yeah, you are correct. If Trump got in there and fired everybody, particularly those that were investigating them, the left would say it looked like he has some sort of bias. I'm not disagreeing with that. However, I have to ask you, since when has Trump ever showed that he cared what the left thought of his actions?
I don't think it was that he was trying to not walk on eggshells or anything. I don't think it was that. So put it this way, okay? He elected a lot of these people, right? That were obviously, now we see this whole investigation was crap. So he hired these people with intention that they would be loyal to him. They would be unbiased in terms of right or left, right? That's their position. That's what they are put inside.
You believe that? You believe he put in somebody
if
like...
If we want a democracy, that's how it should be. If we want a democracy, that's how it's supposed to be.
You believe he would hire Steve Bannon thinking he would be unbiased?
I think there are some that
Hey,
He
I
hired.
just
Okay,
wondering. I have to ask.
no.
Okay,
So
fair enough. I just have to ask because
there
that
are going to
Steve
be some
Bannon is.
people that both sides hire as moderates, right? They think are moderate, that are down the aisle. So it's kind of the same thing. And they turned on him and led down this huge investigation that cost a lot of money, cost an impeachment, all this shit. And you're saying it's his fault because he let it happen. But would you say that to say if your wife cheats on you, is that your fault? Because you thought you married a loyal woman? You thought Trump thought he hired loyal people.
That's a good question. Let me say it like this. If I went out and dated Martha Stewart and she cheated on me, maybe I'm a true victim. But if I get with Kim Kardashian, maybe I made a bad choice. I mean, you can look at somebody and tell that you're making a bad choice for a person. You pick a chick up out the strip club, she probably ain't gonna be with you in 10 years. I mean, so what Trump did, and let's go with what you said. He hired so many people and they turned on him. Why is that? Why, when he promised to surround himself with the best and brightest, why are you picking so many people? Ambassador Bolton, Chris Christie, Attorney General Barr. I mean, why are you picking so many people? Scaramucci, Omarosa. Why are all of the people you picking turning out to be enemies when you promised to surround yourself with the best and brightest?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a bad judgment, but it's also that it just goes to show you that everybody in our freaking government is out for themselves. They're not out for the people. They don't give a shit
They
about
weren't.
us.
They weren't in the government until you hired them.
Well, it just shows you when you get in the government, you're going to go with what the agenda is, what's going to. Okay, let's ask this point. How did those people benefit from going with the left and going with this false accusation of running with this? How'd they benefit? Was it money?
I don't know if they all benefited by going with the left.
What
Ambassador
was the
Bolton is
point
not a
then? To
liberal.
bring Trump down, basically, right?
But what would happen to make the guy that gave you a job? Why did you decide to go against the guy that actually gave you a job and put you in that position?
You're right.
I mean,
I don't think anybody has the answer. Nobody knows why. We know now that this happened, right? That this all was false. Why did they
is
do
it
that?
but is it not even remotely possible that there are so many people that Trump hired that leave and criticize him? Is it not remotely possible that maybe he is a bad boss? Because he's constantly saying everybody that goes after me, they're the bad person and I'm the victim. And the list of people that are doing that is endless. At some point, do we not say maybe something is wrong with you? That everybody keeps quitting and writing books and saying, okay, that didn't happen to Obama,
No,
didn't happen to Bush.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. I wouldn't want to work for him. That's for damn sure. But
Okay.
that doesn't give these people the right to basically do treasonous things, right? Completely false allegations. That is our government that this all just came out with. And now everybody's just going to be like, meh, walk away from it and let it happen. Nobody's going to do anything about it.
Yeah, but
If they can do that to
we're,
a sitting president, what is
you're
really going on?
expecting. I guess the problem where I have an issue with it is we're expecting bottom up leadership. If Trump is the guy that's the commander in chief and he's in charge of the White House and every damn thing else, it's his job to fix these problems, not our job to speak out and whistleblow and do. We put you in the White House because there were problems and you promised to drain the swamp and surround yourself with the best and brightest. You were our answer to the problem that existed. After 4 years of in office, now you're complaining, why didn't you help me out with the problems that existed?
Yeah,
We
I
thought you were
agree.
the
I
guy that was
agree.
going to solve it.
Well, I agree, but you have to think about it too. The FBI is a completely different, technically, organization, right? And they did whatever they wanted. They went completely rogue and did what they wanted. So really, our sitting president has no hole over that anyways. If they did that to a sitting president, they can do whatever they want, regardless of what he does.
But that goes back to my original question. But Obama didn't say they did that to him. George W. Bush didn't say they did that to him. Clinton didn't say it.
And
HW did.
Trump said it, and now we have evidence that they actually did it, correct?
Yes, we got
Okay.
evidence they did it to him. We got evidence that the people he hired did that to him. We got evidence that all. Why is he surrounded like Caesar with so many people that want to stab him? What is it about him that would make us put him back in office, knowing that all of this could happen again?
He won't go. He won't get back in office.
Would you vote for him again?
No. It's a
So you
wasted
have
vote.
no.
It's a wasted vote. He will not get back in office.
So if it comes down to Biden versus Trump, what are you going to sit it out?
Yeah, I won't vote for Biden. That's for sure. I'll probably put a third party.
So you personally, even if Trump is on the ballot, you're not going to vote for Trump again.
Either way, it's a
Take your
wasted
time.
vote. Either way, it's a wasted vote.
That didn't answer the question though. You're not going to. Let me make sure I get it correct. If it's a Trump versus Biden ticket in 2024, even though you said it's a wasted vote, you are officially not going to vote for Trump again.
I guess it'll come down to voting day. I can't say that. I can't say that. I can't say that I won't vote for him. I can't say that I
Okay.
won't vote for him.
All right. That's what I'm looking for. I wanted to get clarity because people already in the comments were like, "Well, she already answered the question," and the truth is, you don't know. All
Yeah.
right, fair enough. Go ahead.
No, that's all I had to say is that, you know, you were saying that, oh, it was his fault that all these people were doing this, but they were going to do it regardless. They were supposed to
I
be
would believe
loyal,
you.
and
I
they.
would believe that more if other presidents complained that they were doing it. No other president in history has been complaining that the FBI went after them. It's only Trump,
But
and only Trump has had that. Go
complaining
ahead.
about it is irrelevant because we know that it happened. That is the scary problem. It's not that
Well,
he's complaining about it. That's completely irrelevant. It happened.
it happened. It happened under your watch, though. How do you not get any accountability for it? It only happened to one president, and you are that guy. And when it happened, you were in charge of the FBI,
And
but somehow you
do
get no
you,
credit for
okay,
that.
so here's the problem I have with it. That is completely irrelevant to me because
To
as a
you.
sitting president, it shows you, regardless of what he did, it was going to happen. That is the
So
bigger problem.
let me ask you this. If the FBI is corrupt and Trump is calling out the FBI as being corrupt even before he gets elected, and then once he gets in office, the FBI continues to be corrupt, whose job is it to fix that?
Yeah, I mean, again, he didn't do anything about it, right? I'm not denying that at all. But what I'm saying is, if he can't, the Democrats aren't going to do anything about this. They're not
They're
going to
not
go
in
after.
power. They're not. We voted for Trump to drain the swamp. We don't vote for Trump to have the Democrats come in and fix the
No.
FBI.
But now that this is out, right? This is out. This shows that this investigation was illegal. It was a farce. Now Biden is president. He knows that the FBI did this. Is he going to do it? Trump isn't in power, right? He already failed. So now
So
Biden,
I
as
do
a
agree with
Democrat.
you. I
Sorry,
do
go
agree
ahead.
with you that now that Biden is in office and we know the FBI is still corrupt and we know Trump didn't fix the problem. Yeah, Biden's supposed to fix it. Biden is supposed to fix the mess, the FBI mess that Trump left behind. I agree with you there, but there's no denying that Trump failed at draining the swamp and fixing this stuff, which is
Yeah,
why I'm
I don't
saying,
disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
yeah, which is why I'm saying that based on Trump's draining the swamp promise delivery, we can talk about getting rid of Biden. I'm fine with that. But Trump should not follow Biden up. We should probably get rid of both of them because Trump has shown the failure at draining the swamp. So he's kind of ruined his chance. Now we're looking at Biden and saying he's not fixing anything as well. So then we go to DeSantis or Gavin or
Yeah,
somebody else. But
no Democratic president, and probably actually let's rewind that. None of them are going to touch it. None of them are.
you might be right. But we can also look back and say the last Republican didn't do it either, though.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
All right. Appreciate you coming in, Nurse. Always welcome back. All right. Looking in the comments. They did change things at the FBI. Fair enough. But I'm just simply saying if the promise is to drain the swamp, how can you look back at the Trump administration and say he successfully did that? It is what it is. Black people been saying the FBI and the CIA are corrupt since the 1960s. What's the difference now? It's the victim. The difference in regards to the FBI is the victim. You are correct. We have been saying the FBI is corrupt since the J. Edgar Hoover days. Hell, Martin Luther King was put on the terrorist watch list. How the hell did that happen? In fact, the files regarding the investigation of Martin Luther King are still sealed to this day. Even after having the nation's first black president, even Obama didn't unseal them, which makes you wonder what the hell were they doing that is so awful, because you got to assume Obama knows what's in those files. Obama knows what they were doing to try to quiet Martin Luther King. Is there some assassination attempt in there or something? Whatever the case may be, the files in regards to Martin Luther King were sealed for 50 years, and I do believe they have recently extended that. So those files are still classified. So you are correct. The FBI has been corrupt for a long-ass time. They just weren't corrupt to people like Trump. So it used to be a case where if you went to Trump, oftentimes even somebody that supported Trump and said, listen, the FBI is mistreating us. If you just comply with them, they wouldn't mess with you. Just follow the law and they'll leave you alone. Now that Trump is kind of singing the same song, suddenly folks are starting to dance. They're feeling the rhythm a little bit. Like, damn, I didn't realize I liked this song. But yeah, this was always being said. It was just being ignored. A lot of folks that are pointing out how awful the FBI is to Trump were just saying, you know, we backed the law not long ago. All right, looking in the comments, Trump was in the swamp, but now so is Biden. Karen, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. And I'm not going to believe that Biden, with his son Hunter Biden, is totally innocent of that shit. I believe there's something there. I do. I don't believe it's going to come out under the Biden administration, though. Just like there was no chance Trump would ever be held accountable for anything when he was president. That's kind of how it works. You're not going to get a Democratic Senate to hold Biden accountable. When the Republicans are talking about rolling back Roe versus Wade and shit like that, the Democrats would rather defend a criminal. If Biden was proven to be a criminal, they would still ride with him. Same way on the other side. Doesn't matter how criminal something may come out about Trump. If you're talking about letting transgender play for girl sports and shit like that, they're going to defend Trump no matter what. That's just how politics is. We are very tribal right now. So it is what it is. So it's called politics. Anyhow, folks, you know what happens around this time. This is indeed a lunch break live, 100,000 likes. And I didn't even have to ask as many times today, so I do appreciate the participation, tapping of the screen. Got your boy over the 100,000 mark. That's good shit. Thank you for that. Nevertheless, you know what we always say, the program is and forever will remain MAGA friendly. Don't block, don't ban, don't censor anyone for their commentary. We make this work every day without even so much as a moderator, because most of my guests, fairly educated. Yeah! Thank you for the hat and mustache, Dot. Most of my guests are fairly politically savvy. Whether you disagree with them or not, they're involved in politics. And as a result, we have civilized dialogue here every damn day. And if that's what you like, follow the program. We do it every day, Monday through Friday. Helps out the algorithms. Marie, KS, Kansas, appreciate the roses. Follow the program. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, there will always be a place to sit for you. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I got to go.